Hello, welcome to a new video. Today we're gonna take a look at Pokeloop's rank 1 in the world team here, which was a lot of fun to play. We're going to have a team here around Shadow Sableye, which is a Pokemon I wanted to take a look at anyway. And you see already, most likely we have a very long video today. I kinda want to try it out if you're interested in this kind of content for a little bit longer. You're going to see every battle that I played with this team, 4 sets total. So get a coffee, get a tea and enjoy. This team is very unique and I see a lot of people most likely going to question already, how do you beat X, Y, Z? Like, there are certain Pokemon that are a little bit trickier to play against, mainly grass-type Pokemon, but we're going to see it most likely in this video as well, as you're going to encounter here first battle against a Toxicroak, where actually the Azumarill are going to be able to go for another charge move with the Ice Beam, and I'm going to be able to use a shield here to farm down the opponent, which will allow me now to also realign the Pokemon, and they had enough. Next game starting, let's take a look what they're going to run. This is going to be again against a person that actually won a regional already. So we're going to see a Charger Bug coming in, which we can hardwire now with our Carbink. Amazing force here already. Great lead, great Pokemon to save, swap into us, because we can just go for the full farm down here with a Rock Throw with our Carbink, as it's going to be a very easy matchup for us. We can just go for the full farm down, get as much energy as possible. And in comes most likely again the opponent's Nidoqueen, which will be able to farm me all the way down, but I can still go for 2 Moonblast, which should get the opponent fairly low. So first Moonblast coming through, gonna get some more damage with my fast move as well, as I can go for another Moonblast here. I don't really want to swap out myself yet, but I will be able to just go for a little bit more damage with my Carbink, getting down 1 Pokemon and getting 1 close to death already here with the second one. Using a shield onto the Earth Power is amazing for me, because they're going to have an Umbreon in the back, and this is going to be game. Next one coming up, let's take a look here what they are going to run. We're going to have a horrible lead for us, so we're going to, or like a mid lead basically for us, so we're going to decide to swap out into our Azumarill. Basically, this is kind of how you want to play this team. If you're going to have a great lead, you're going to try to win this one out and try to realign the Pokemon if you have like some scenario where you can win this one. But otherwise, you kind of want to swap out into your Azumarill, which still is running Ice Beam plus Hydro Pump, allowing you to have great coverage as well as against like Pokemon like grass-type Pokemon, so you're kind of forced to use Ice Beam here. But also, Hydro Pump is going to be good against a lot of the Steel-type Pokemon, which you also kind of want to get rid of. Steel-type Pokemon can be very tricky for the backline as well. Especially the Registeel can be a little bit tricky, but still, I went 15-5 with this team without knowing it, so like, it's a great team for sure. Here I decided to make an interesting play to swap out into my Sableye, trying to get rid of the opponent's Dragonite there, because I was not able to realign, but I have to use 2 more shields here in order to still keep in this, or like 1 more shield, still keeping around my very low HP Sableye. But let's see if this is going to work out for us. It's going to be the Azumarill in the back, and I'm still gonna get to a foul play, so maybe there's still a way for me to win this game, but it's going to be a close one, as I'm going to be forced to go into my Carbink here, and I'm calling that this is not going to be the Hydro Pump. Let's see if this is going to work out well for me. It doesn't, so I decided to just let it go, and this is going to be it for this game. Moving on to the next game, we're going to encounter here the Alolan Sandslash in the lead, which is going to be an awkward one for us, but we can stay in for a little bit. I kind of want to swap out eventually, at least here against the opponent, as I can just go for the foul play against the opponent here, but you have to time it right. The opponent's running Powder Snow as well, so this is the thing as well, like if you can swap out onto the Ice Punch into the Azumarill, you're going to have a great time here, but I decided to go for another charge move. Hopefully they're going to use another shield, and they decide to do so, so I try to catch the move, which didn't work out because I went straight for it, and I thought they might go for 1 extra, but no, they decided not to, so I'm at least still going to be able to farm them down with my Azumarill, allowing me to get some energy as they have the Charger Bug in the bag. We're gonna get out the opponent's Medicham. This is looking fairly fine for me, as I can just go for the Moonblast against the opponent. This should do a ton of damage against them. As we will see the Psychic coming through, I will be able to go for my own Moonblast, which is gonna get a lot of damage onto them. We can go for the full farm down. We should be able to get out of this matchup with a Rock Slide stored, which is gonna be amazing against the Charger Bug lurking in the back, because while this is not gonna get the knockout, we're still gonna get some damage onto them, especially with the incoming fast move of Rock Throw as well. We're gonna put them into range where I can just go for the Hydro Pump, and this is all it takes to knock them out, winning us this game with a big boom. So, next one coming up, let's take a look at what they are going to run here. We're going to have a very interesting lead and a great lead for us. Skeledirge is bad against our entire team, and I decided to stay in for a little bit too long here, most likely, with my Sableye. but I can still align my Pokemon later on, which I'm gonna do here as well. I'm gonna go into my Carbink, and even though the opponent got way too much energy, which I shouldn't have gave to them, I'm still going to be able to align most likely myself here, as we still do super effective damage against the opponent with our fast move as well as with Rock Slide, and I can still take another charge move from the opponent, so we're actually in a fairly decent spot. The opponent doesn't decide to use a shield here, and he can go for the full farm down, allowing me to also get to some charge moves against the opponent's Serperior. I try to go for the Moonblast, and I can still try to go for that, but I was kind of in a CMP type, which is kind of awkward. But I can still align my Sableye where I can use my shield here. They might want to swap out into the Skeledirge eventually, but let's see what they're going to do here. They're not going to swap out yet. I can still go for a charge move. This is going to get, hopefully, the shield, and it does get the shield, as it allows me now to use my own shield as well. Let's see, Aerial Ace coming through, and the opponent decides to swap out, allowing me to swap out into my own Azumarill. I should be able to win CMP with my Sableye later on, and like this, I will be able to take a Shadow Ball. I can still go for 3 more fast moves, or even 4, and go for the Hydro Pump now to get the one-shot against the opponent's Skeledirge, which is gonna be amazing. Here in comes the Serperior, and the Ice Beam is all it takes to knock them out. So, is it? I think it is. Yeah, it is. So we're gonna win this game. Moving on to the next game, we're going to encounter here the MEWeedle in the lead. Again, kind of similar to the Skeledirge, very good for my entire team, as we're going to get out the Lantern. This Lantern can be a little bit tricky for this team, especially if you say swap the Azumarill, because, yeah, Azumarill does not run the Play Rough, even though Play Rough doesn't help you too much either, because you're always going to lose it one. Here we're going to have the matchup that we exactly want to have. With the Shadow variant of Sableye, I think you can use the normal variant as well, but with the Shadow variant, you're definitely going to be able to win this matchup in the two-shield scenario, as you're going to be able to get the full farm done at this point, which is amazing for me, as I can now get a ton of energy, and the opponent decides to swap into the into the MEWeedle again, which is kind of interesting, as we're going to be able to do super effective damage, but I decide to store my energy because my entire team is good against MEWeedle, and I might encounter something in the back where I like to have some foul play damage, and definitely the Medicham is one of those Pokemon. I can just let this next move go through. It's going to be a Psychic, and they're still forced to throw another charge move, as I can go for the Hydro Pump, doing a ton of damage against the opponent. I just have to get to the Ice Beam, which I do get to, so that's going to get the shield from the opponent, and also, never mind, it's going to get the knockout against the opponent, so I can just swap out into my Sableye, and I should be able to reach another one in time, allowing me to knock out the opponent before they can even reach my final Pokemon, as well as we're going to still have all our Pokemon available, which is always a cool flex. Next opponent, let's take a look at what they're going to run here. They're going to run the Deoxys in the lead, which is going to be fine for us. We're going to be able to wall that with our lead as well. But we're going to see now the Greedent swapping in, which is an awkward one because they can debuff me. They do super effective damage with their fast move, but Carbink is actually a fairly decent answer, as all their charge move is going to be resisted. They're going to get an early debuff here, which is totally fine with their Crunch, but I will be able to still reach a Rock Slide, as we will now be able to also just let this move go through. Let's see. They're gonna go for the Crunch. I can't just let this one go, as you can just move on and go for a Rock Slide afterwards. But let's see here, we're gonna see the Crunch coming through. The opponent decides to swap out into the Deoxys, allowing me to swap out into my Sableye, allowing me to completely hardwall them. The Foul Play is coming through, and now I can just go for the full farmland if I want to, and I do want to, and I can even let this move go through if I want to, but I decide to use a shield onto the Thunderbolt, which allows me to go for more charge moves anyway. And as we're going to see the Steelix in the back, this game is over. They just have to see my Azumarill, and they're most likely going to forfeit, because they know there is nothing that Steelix can do against an Azumarill, which makes Azumarill so strong in the current meta. And as they're going to see, they're going to go for a charge move. I let it go. I can show them my Azumarill, and I feel like they say just goodbye. So, next game coming up here, we're going to encounter the opponent's Whiscash in the lead, which is going to be okay for me, as I will be able to just go for the foul play against them. I'm not sure about this matchup in general in terms of like counting. I think they went straight for the Mud Bomb anyway, but I will be able to survive at least one of them. But I feel like that I will be able to win this in the two-shield scenario, as foul play should be enough together with the Shadow Claw, and as the opponent decides to no-shield the first one, I can just farm them all the way down, get out of this matchup with so much energy stored, and let's see what's coming in. It's going to be a Gligar. I'm going to stay in this lead matchup then, because I can align my Azumarill later, but I will be able to get a shield advantage, or like my shield back basically that I used before, plus some damage onto the opponent, and also I can realign my Pokemon as well, which is going to be amazing, as they're going to run the Mantine in the back, and they go forfeit. Next game coming up, we're going to have a very bad lead for me. We're going to have the Ninetales here, which is going to be okay, but we can now see that they're going to swap out into the Registeel. So far I think we won every single game with this team. So we're gonna see here now the Registeel against us, which can be a little bit tricky, but we at least have our Hydro Pump for this one, putting them into range for just one foul play here. But as you're going to see as well, I can still go for the Ice Beam. Ice Beam is coming through. This is gonna get no shielded, but I try to put them into range so I can farm down with my Sableye. So what we can do here is we can let this move go through. They actually go for the Focus Blast, which is a smart decision because like this, they can still go for another charge move. They need the extra one fast move there as well. I expect it's going to be a Focus Blast, so I no shielded, which was very smart by me as well. But now it depends on what they're going to run in the back as well here, as they are going to most likely see my carving here and they're gonna have the Swampert in the back. I'm still not over with this battle. Maybe I still have a chance of winning this one, but it's going to be a tough one. I'm going to shield up the move. It's going to be the Hydro Cannon, but I can just go for the Rock Slide here, which is hopefully going to get the shield from the opponent. This is my only play here to try to win this game still. Let's see, we're gonna see the shield coming up. I still have to hope that I can get to a charge move in time, but I cannot get there in time, sadly, as the opponent is going to be able to go for the Earthquake, and they're gonna get me low enough. I can still try to get some damage onto them with my Sableye, but now my only play is to go for the Moonblast to see how much damage it's going to do here against the opponent's Swampert. But as you're going to see, this is not going to even be enough to knock them out, and they're going to knock me out, so this is going to be a good game there as well, and our first loss, I think. Moving on. Next game, we're going to have the Azumarill against us. This is going to be a very neutral matchup, kinda, because we do not super effective, but very decent damage with my fast move. I'm going to be fine here, but I decided to swap out to get out a potential superior, which was most likely a smart decision. But let's see what we're going to be able to do here. The opponent is going to have to take the Ice Beam and putting them now into the range for a charge move of my lead as well. Frenzy Plant comes through, it doesn't knock me out yet, and they are forced to go for another charge move, which they do. And this is going to be most likely the Frenzy Plant again. So we can just swap out into our Sableye, and we have put them into a range where we can just go for the foul play, knock them out with it. And we're still going to have a decent time as the opponent swaps back into their Azumarill, going for a charge move, most likely an Ice Beam, but no, it's actually a Play Rough, and now I have to try to catch a move from the opponent, as I can go for my own Power Gem. Power Gem is not as strong as basically, for example, a Return, but I have to hope this is not a Hydro Pump. Turns out it is a Hydro Pump, so I decide to use a Shield, and now all of us against just a Medicham, but this is going to be a very tough one for them, or like for me at least here, because I can still go for a charge move. This is maybe our only opt to go for 2 baits here against the opponent, but they decide to shield up the first one. We put them already into range basically for just 1 foul play, plus a little bit of Shadow Claw damage, as I can still go for another charge move here. Moonblast is coming through, no baits this time around, but the opponent's still gonna go for a charge move. I try to snipe them, but sadly they can still go for a charge move here. Dynamic Punch is coming through, and they swap perfectly into their Azumarill, and at this point of time, this game is over, sadly. Not sure if I had a chance otherwise, but yeah, this is sadly going to be game. Well played by the opponent, but also kinda hard-walled here. Next up, let's see what's coming up next. Is going to be the Medicham against us in the lead, where we can still have our decent play with the Azumarill against now the Steelix, which is going to be nice. If they know this, they could shield. Actually they can just let this move go through, and I think I can farm down afterwards. Let's find out here together. This is most likely going to be the Earthquake. It is the Earthquake, and I think I can farm them all the way down here. They're most likely going to try to go for the Breaking Swipe, which they do, which is fine for me. I can let this move go through as well. And we will see here the attack drop coming through, but I have like nearly 100 energy as the opponent decides to swap out into the Bastion. Expecting me to have the Play Rough, they did not expect me to have the Hydro Pump, and yes, you need the Hydro Pump on this Pokemon, or like in general onto the Azumarill here, in order for the carving to actually work. But here we're gonna see now the Medicham, which is going to get hard-walled by our Sableye. And this might be another 3-ball flex here. Let's see, they're gonna go for the Ice Punch. I will be able to just do so much damage with my fast move alone already. Shadow Claw, being stab, being buffed by the Shadow bonus, being super effective, is just chunking away onto the health of the opponent's Medicham, allowing us to do so much damage here, and also getting off another charge move here. I will be able to just get the final shield. The opponent is super low, I can still go for another charge move here and knock them out. And that is basically game here, as the opponent is only going to have the Bastion, and this is going to be a 3-ball flex. Moving on to the next game, we're going to encounter now the opponent's Diggersby in the lead. One of the worst possible leads that you can encounter with this team, as of course we're going to have a double weakness with both of our lead as well as the carbing in the back. So I'm going to stay in here, and I must say I played a little bit awkward. I decide to not this move go through, I guess it's fine. They're gonna get the attack drop, I cannot use a shield here at all. And I should have went for my charge move earlier. And this is actually really bad that I didn't go for my charge move here. Because as you're going to see now, I am not going to be able to farm down, and I think I would have been able to farm down, especially like as you're going to see as the opponent going to use a shield onto this ice beam, spoiler alert, I would have been able to farm them all the way down already just with the damage of my Sableye coming through. So this is really not helpful for me, and also definitely a big misplay by me, so that's kind of awkward. I'm going to use a shield here onto the Scorching Sands, but I can still go for another ice beam. But as you're going to see, this is gonna get the knockout, but they're going to run the Lantern in the back, and yeah, Lantern in the back plus basically plus the Diggersby in the lead is kind of awkward. But also, one question to the opponent: what do you do if you encounter one single grass type Pokemon? Like, honestly, you have a hardcore weakness, but I guess their answer is going to be the Skeledirge. Then they might run Fire Punch or something on the Diggersby, then I can kind of understand it. But Skeledirge is definitely a hard answer for grass type Pokemon. But otherwise, it's going to be okay for us. We can just try to swap out and need the damage basically later on onto the Lantern. So I decide to keep the Moonblast around onto this Pokemon, as we only do not super effective damage, basically resisted damage onto the Lantern. With our Azumarill, I'm still going to go for a charge move here, forcing the opponent to hopefully throw with their Lantern. But I still try to go for the Hydro Pump. It does not work out, and I needed to get there in order to get enough damage to knock them out with a Moonblast. But they most likely would have been able to outspeed me anyway, so doesn't really matter. Lantern in the lead though is going to be a very decent one for me, as I can just go ahead and go for the foul play against the opponent. We will see here that I can just try to go for another one afterwards. We're going to use a shield against the opponent as well. It's going to be the Surf, and I will get to another charge move here. This is going to get, hopefully, the shield from the opponent. It does. And like this, I can go for the full farm down, which is basically the benefit of running the Shadow Sableye here, because with a normal one, you cannot go for the full farm down. As you're going to get out the opponent's Ninetales, I will swap out into my Azumarill, because Scorching Sands would be super effective against my other Pokemon, so this is going to be my better matchup. And I decided to go for the bait here, which may not be the smartest idea, but I can still try to go for the full farm down, but they should be able to still get to another Scorching Sands, which they do, which was a mistake then by me. But I'm still at least going to get all this matchup with a Hydro Pump stored, which might be very beneficial against the opponent's Registeel, because this Pokemon going to be a little bit tricky to deal with. I wanted to swap out first, but then I decided not to, because I can still go for another charge move. But the opponent decides to swap out into the Lantern. I decide to swap out into my Carbink, because I know that I'm going to be able to at least catch this next charge move, which is not going to get any debuff or anything like this against me anyway. So like this, I can just let this next move go through, and they're still forced to go for another charge move, as I'm not running Flash Gun onto their Registeel, which is going to be amazing for me, because this forces the opponent to waste so much energy onto a Pokemon that usually doesn't do damage. But look at how close you're going to get the opponent's Registeel to KO range, which is just wild. So I will be able to just go for a farm now with my Sableye and win the game. Next one coming up here, we're going to have the Superior in the lead, which is of course where you kind of want to face it. But you're still going to lose this matchup. Actually, in the Zero Shield scenario, you can draw against the opponent, which is kind of funny. But against any other matchup, you're going to be a little bit on a difficult spot here. I'm still going to use a shield here against the opponent, because I'm going to get them fairly low anyway, and I can use another shield to go for the full farm down. And most likely, I'm going to be able to get my shields back anyway, as the opponent decides to swap out into their own Sableye. I'm going to decide to get extra energy and now swap out into my Carbink, because I know I can hardwall the opponent, as well as I can keep a charge move stored with my own Sableye, which is basically what I kind of want. The opponent doesn't really do too much damage, as they can still reach for another charge move here. This is going to be another foul play, and again we can just go for the full farm down, as the opponent is going to swap into their Sandslash. We are 2 shields down at this point, so it's going to be an uphill battle, but we're going to get 1 shield back already with the Drog Slide, and we know that we can still survive a charge move from this range, as far as I can remember at least. With my, never mind, I cannot, not from the Shadow variant of the Sandslash most likely, maybe from the normal one, but the opponent can still go for a charge move here. They have a ton of energy, and we will see them getting me fairly low. I will be able to still go for the Ice Beam, hopefully gonna get the shield from the opponent, but they decide to no-shield this one, knowing it's an Ice Beam. It's still fine for me, because I should be able to farm them all the way down. Drill Run coming through, and the opponent swaps back into their Superior. I can farm down this Pokemon, I can farm down the Sandslash, but only with my Azumarill. Next game coming up, we're going to see here the Greninja in the lead, which is going to be fine for me. I can just let this Pokemon stay in here, actually. I guess it's not that fine. It's honestly a core breaker for this team, but I just want to say it's fine because, yeah, it's actually not fine. Our Azumarill are going to be very good against it, but our other two Pokemon are going to struggle quite a bit with Greninja. But I was able at least to get a shield advantage, and I decided to swap out into my Azumarill, which might have been a mistake, which we will find out shortly, because we will see here, incoming, the opponent's Nidoqueen. But the only real mistake here was to not, or like to go ahead and go for the big boom with the Hydro Pump, as I should have went for the Ice Beam, allowing the opponent to get less farm here, but I decided to go for the big boom immediately, and they decided to shield it, allowing them to farm me all the way down. If I just went for 2 Ice Beams, I would have been so much better off, and like this is going to be an uphill battle. I'm going to be a 1 defense drop down here, basically, as we can still knock out the opponent's Pokemon here. They're going to have the Greninja coming back, and I have to kind of try to catch a move here onto my Carbink. Let's see if this is going to work. Worked out perfectly, I would say. They didn't even throw, but it's going to be fine, as you can still go for a Moonblast against the opponent's Deoxys, and as far as I remember, I should be able to farm down after just 1 Moonblast in a zero shield scenario, getting out of this matchup with a Rock Slide start. So let's see if this is going to actually work out as I expected it would do. So we will see here that I'm going to let all the moves go through, because, spoiler alert, I don't have shields, so I cannot really do anything anyway, but I get out of this matchup with a move start, and this move is all it takes to take out the opponent's Frog here, so that's going to be a good game. Next up, we're going to have a very neutral lead here, but our backline is kind of okay against it. Golbat, of course, gets super effective hits by the Azumarill with the move Ice Beam, as well as we're going to be able to outspeed them here in the beginning. But also my Carbink in the back going to be an insane answer for this Pokemon. So here we're going to see that they're going to go for a charge move, and they're going to go for another charge move, and I'm going to try to go for my own charge move, trying to get the opponent's final shield here, which should work out fairly well, and it does not work out at all, because they're running into, like, they're basically stopped into a Scrafty. So Scrafty was able to double resist the charge move there, but I will be able to take every charge move from the opponent with my Azumarill. So this is going to be fine, as I will be able to just go ahead, let this move go through. It's going to be a foul play, and the Hydro Pump is going to get hopefully the knockout against the opponent. I don't have Play Rough, of course, so I'm forced to go for the Hydro Pump. It does knock them out, but I still get an extra fast move here, which is amazing, even better for me, as I can even go for an Ice Beam here against the opponent's Golbat. So this is going to allow us to get the knockout here, and it's going to be just the Quagsire in the back, so it has to be a team effort though, because as you're going to see here, my team kind of struggles now against the Quagsires. My best answers are kind of dead at this point. So yeah, it's going to be a tough one, but we're going to still be able to hit an Ice Beam against the opponent, which is kind of nice, as I can swap out now into my Carbink. The opponent going to go for a Mud Bomb, which is okay for me. I will be able to just go for my own charge move soon, as well as the opponent decides to go for another one. Mud Bomb coming through. I can just go for my Rock Slide here, trying to get the final shield by the opponent. So maybe I can still get to another shield later on, but let's take a look at this one. We're gonna see that the opponent going to go ahead, knock me out, and so it's now all down to my final Pokemon. Is my Sableye really good enough? Of course, we still would have the Azumarill, but yes, our Sableye is still good enough, as well as the Azumarill will still be lurking in the back there, but we can move on to the next game. Next, I'm going to start here with the Carbink in the lead, which is going to be an awkward matchup for me, but I just want to store some energy, and this works out fairly okay for me, as I can get out the Superior, which is definitely what I want to get out of here. As the opponent going to go for a Frenzy Plant, I will be able to go for my Ice Beam. The Ice Beam is coming through, and the Ice Beam is going to get a lot of damage onto the opponent. As I still have my move stored, I will be even able to reach another Ice Beam, but not in time, as the opponent can go for an Aerial Ace to knock me out. So I'm going to be forced to go for a Foul Play here, but I have nearly 2 foul plays stored, so now it depends on what they're running in the back. Are they running something good against me, or like for me, for my Carbink in the back? We will find out shortly, as their Carbink gonna go for a charge move. I'm just gonna get some extra energy here and now swap out into my own Carbink. Taking a look on what they're going to run in the back, as they decide to go for a charge move, being the Moonblast, doing some decent damage. They're going to reveal their final Pokemon being the Medicham, and basically at this point of time, there is not a lot that I can do about it, because Medicham is going to get the final shield from me here. The opponent still has 2 shields, so I'm most likely going to shield this one, unless they're letting this move go through. So maybe there's still a chance, you say? Maybe, just maybe. I can still go for a full farm here with my own Carbink, but it's going to be a little bit of a tough one, as they're still going to get to another charge move. And I decided to go for my Power Gem, which most likely was a mistake. I should have went for the Foul Play instead. But again, here in hindsight, you always know a little bit more, of course. But the opponent decides to go for another shield here. I might have been fine if I went for 2 foul plays instead of the 2 moves there, but it's still a little bit of a trickier one. Next game, going to be the Frosters in the lead, which is going to be a fairly decent one for me, to be fair, but also my backlane is great against it. So we're gonna see here now the opponent having the Registeel. I can go for a charge move with my Sableye. This is gonna get them fairly low, and I can just go ahead, shield up the move from the opponent. It's going to be the Zap Cannon. I should be able to reach another one in time as well. Getting rid of the hardest answer to my Pokemon in the back here, so it's going to be amazing. They're actually going to use a shield. I don't really care too much about it. I can just overfarm by quite a bit, even so much that I would be able to reach 2 charge moves in time. So here they're actually running the move Flash Cannon though, which is a smart idea in general. I feel like that Flash Cannon has a lot of potential in the current meta, as they are gonna be able to actually knock me out before I can go for my charge move, which I did not expect, but I guess that's Flash Cannon for you, as we are going to be forced to go now into our carving against the opponent's Frosters, which should be fairly fine for me, as I can just let this move go through. It's going to be the Avalanche, and I can just go for the Rock Slide, which can knock them out, and this is going to be very good for me, as we will now see that they're going to run the Swampert in the back, and as long as I can maybe go for the Moonblast, I should be fine. But of course, the opponent can still get to their move in time, and it does knock me out, but the opponent goes for another one, which, of course, at this range is going to knock me out. So, don't know why they didn't go for the Earthquake, because Earthquake would have been the play against both of my Pokemon, but it's going to be alright, as the opponent is going to go ahead and go for the Earthquake here right now, which I will be able to just go for my own Hydro Pump. Hydro Pump is going to do enough damage to knock them out, and we will be able to farm down the opponent's Registeel, winning this game with our XL Azumarill. Next game, we're going to encounter the Alolan Sandslash in the lead, and again, this is not going to be an ideal matchup. In an ideal world, you kind of want to try to catch a move onto your own Pokemon in the back there, the Azumarill, of course. Azumarill would be a decent one to catch this move on, as both of your lead as well as the Pokemon in the back, your Carbink, are going to be actually kind of fine against this opponent's Pokemon here. Even though they're kind of weak to it, you can still at least have like kind of neutral scenarios, which I feel like is kind of a win. But the Shadow Alolan Sandslash is just a little bit too strong in my opinion. I would have liked to see it maybe getting something like Scorching Sand, of course, is an ice type. You wouldn't really get this move, but still, like something like this compared to what it actually got at the end of the day. So here we're going to be able to just take this Hurricane, but it's still going to be a tough one to win, as the opponent still has a shield advantage as well. I can just go for my own charge move here. This is going to get the final shield from the opponent, but now we have to hope that Carbink is enough to win all those final matchups here. But let's take a look at this one. We're going to be able to get the opponent very low enough that we should be able to farm down with the Carbink, but let's see what they're going to run in the bag. Our Sableye still has some health as well, but not really that much, and Carbink is going to go up against the opponent's Medicham, but Sableye says, not today. We're going to still go ahead and go for a foul play here, and even to another one with just 1 HP left, showcasing how strong the Shadow Sableye actually can be, as we can now see the Pelipper coming back in. I can go for the full farm down, and let's see what's in the final game here. Going to be against the opponent's Altaria. That's a rare Pokemon to be seen. But I can swap out now into my Azumarill, trying to get out a potential Grass-type Pokemon, which would be weird, as the opponent would have been double weak to Ice-type Pokemon. We're gonna get out the opponent's Lickitung. Getting to a charge move here is going to be amazing, as the opponent decides to use a shield, which is not amazing against me though, because yeah, like now I'm going to kind of want to use a shield as well, but I decide not to, as they're gonna go for a Power Whip. And they're gonna go for another charge move, which is going to be another Power Whip, which I didn't expect, and so I'm in a tough spot here. Lickitung is a little bit of a trickier Pokemon to deal with as well, especially if you don't have the Carbink, as you're going to be weak with the entire team against this Pokemon. But the opponent decided to go ahead and swap out into their Altaria, and I just don't know why. I just don't really know why. But we're going to be able to go for a Rock Slide and get them low, and we can go for the full farm down here. That's amazing, right? I will get out of this matchup with a Moonblast Dot. I have a shield advantage. I still have my Sableye in the back. So let's see what's coming back in. It's going to be the Medicham. So we have a nearly dead, Medicham. We have a nearly dead Lickitung. And I have a Shadow Sableye that can go for Foul Play, which is going to do a lot of damage, I have to say. So this is looking amazing for me. I cannot get to the move before they can go for their own charge move, which is mostly just a body slam, but it's actually the power, which would have, I guess, been their only way of winning this game, really, so that's fair. But Foul Play is gonna get the knockout here, and this is going to be it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed this very long video. If you did, feel free to leave a like, and I'll see you then. Bye bye.